Okay, Pops, moving on to school. Now, you've obviously given me a lot of info about your school life already, but a couple of things that you maybe have not mentioned so far. So, what kind of student were you?
Not good. I think that my whole life is that I need to have some sort of crisis, like 2 days before the exams on a desperate SWAT or something like that. I just had too many interests, and I think it was summed up by a headhunter who did a complete review on me, who said that Andrew sometimes is a sports crazy pavement philosopher who doesn't actually deliver, or something like that. I'll never forget that. And considering my later career, that's probably he probably got it wrong. But certainly, from the point of view, I was an average student. I did all right at prep school. I got into high school a year earlier than my other children, so I wasn't stupid. But I more or less just skated along the bottom as far as I had just too many interests, too many sports, too much stuff like that going on. I think the thing to understand about, about having a wonderful childhood is St Andrews College, which I think is one of the world's top schools, and is now 175 years old, is that it as a boarder, yes, and I was a boarder, because my father being a schoolmaster there, it wasn't felt sensible to be staying in the home. And I didn't see my parents for the whole term, except for the odd chocolate cake and stuff that they sent to like a normal parent. In fact, if I saw my parents, I would we had straw boaters, told them, I said, "Good morning, Mom," to my mother, because, but in boarding school, we just had fun from morning, noon and night. And we were actually required to do sport on 4 days a week. But it was just a wonderful place to be, and it was home at the same time. I buried my parents' ashes next to the clock tower and all those sort of things in the school. And I loved my school years. They were good, loads of friends, loads of doing things, including at the end, we had a thing called the long walk, where we were supposed to go as a group and do a 2 or 3 day adventure. And the first 2 days was sort of rained off, and me and 3 or 4 of my colleagues walked 53 miles in a day to climb 4 mountains. It was that sort of thing. It was outdoor life, it was good life. Could cycle to school when I was at prep school, all that sort of stuff. It was absolutely great. Never mind rugby tours. Can write a whole video about rugby tours and things like that. But answer your first question, not a great applied student. When I did the history exam at the end of the year, I got so involved, we had to write 7 essays or 5 essays. And I wrote 3, for which I got 100%, but I never got to the last 2, so I didn't get an A in history, because I get diverted, and that's been the story of my life, really.
How would your classmates remember you, though?
My nickname was La Voix, the voice. I assume that because I'm fairly loud in some respects, and I see it in my eldest grandson, he's exactly the same. I think I must have had an impact because I was one of 6 school prefects who basically ran the school. I was always captain of every team I played in, and that goes right the way through to university days. So I must have had some sort of impact, but very little bullying or anything like that. I never experienced that at school, either giving it or receiving it. Well, I come back to I love the school.
Would you say any of the teachers had a big influence on you at the time?
Yes, I think all of them. We had a maths teacher who was in his 80s called Drac Lucas, because he looked like Dracula, and he was utterly terrifying, but amazing at the same time. You remember that all the teachers were my family friends, so they used to come around, have meals, and so it was difficult to look at it now in retrospect. We had a headmaster called Freddie Spencer Chapman, and you can look him up on anywhere at Wikipedia. He was an amazing guy. He behind the lines in Malaya right through the war, and he wrote an amazing, famous book called The Jungle is Neutral. And he actually diverted thousands of Japanese troops because they thought there was a battalion of saboteurs. and he used to tell amazing stories. And he started Outward Bound in the UK, and he started that in South Africa called Felt and Flay. We had him for 5 years. He was socially quite shy, but an amazing man. First person to go into Tibet. He, knew the Dalai Lama, and he's just traveled. He went on the Fuchs expedition to Antarctica. He was just an amazing man. And he created in the school what he called the spirit of adventure. And, he inspired so many things that went on there. Extracurricular activity. I understand the school even has a skydiving club now. It's just, life was just astonishing to us all in those days. And he had a big effect. Unfortunately, he got cancer and shot himself, but that's by the by. But amazing man.
Okay, so that wraps up the school segment. So just as a little interlude, Derek Varkenfeld actually has a question for you. And he asked, do you recall the Dune story that goes along with these pictures?
Adouance, yeah.
My pronunciation.
Look, Derek is another lifelong friend and was my brother-in-law for a long time. And he introduced me to Cerise. I remember him first attending a cricket match. I think it wasn't a test match. It was a Western Province match at the fantastic Newlands cricket ground. And he and I tied up, and he was actually very young when he went to university. He was only 16 or 17. And he proceeded, as you can see from the pictures, to flunk out in his first or second year. But by the time he'd finished, he was one of the world's best-known professors ears, nose and throat professors in the world. Pioneered cochlear implant things from ear to ear, and that people could hear hadn't heard before. And he once said to me, other than the fact he used to borrow my car frequently, damagingly, to woo his woman of his life, who was a girl called Marlene. And Marlene, who was one of the 6 siblings, said that she thought it'd be a good idea, having seen what a wonderful person I was, that we would go out as a double date. So he introduced me to Cerise. And the rest, they say, is history. We had lunch with him and his second wife, unfortunately, but we're all very close, with Marlene just a couple of months ago, and it was a wonderful. It's like such a relationship where you don't need to turn the clock back. You just sit at the table and your conversation flows and memories come back. But Derek, that is one of his many claims to fame, otherwise being an absolutely top surgeon, and still is that he can put on a cabaret show, and that's part of the cabaret show. And he had a series of jokes and guitar, where he accompanied the guitar and stuff like that. And we just had endless fun, And Derek's a very special person to me.